What if you had access to your own personal financial advisor? Someone who was not only an expert in how to grow your wealth, but also gave you completely unbiased advice and was completely free. In this video, I'll show you how you can use ChatGPT to evaluate your stock picks. It will analyze your portfolio, evaluate its potential for growth, provide scores based on its safety and diversification rating. It's also going to backtest your stock picks over the last 10 years and compare those returns to that of the market. I'm Alex. I'm a data engineer and product developer. If you're building online or looking to optimize your work or life with technology, I think you'll like my content. My personal experience is that I got essentially wrecked by trying to pick stocks thinking that I'm smarter than the market. I wouldn't say I've actually lost a lot of money, but I've lost out on a lot of gains that I could have made by picking more conservative choices rather than quick, exciting growth. I'll talk about this in future videos and share what I'm doing now. Today's video is about using ChatGPT as a way of giving you more scope or other ideas that maybe you haven't considered. Imagine you read a few blog posts. Maybe there are some Reddit forums. Let's say you have about 10 sources that you've read in the last day that now are having an outbalanced weight of influence on you in what you're currently deciding to invest in. Based on these things you've read and whatever prior knowledge and experience you have, you've decided on a few stock picks and you're going to put some money into those. ChatGPT, on the other hand, has read 1 million blog posts, or maybe 100 million. So it has a much broader scope of knowledge about what everybody's talking about. Does that necessarily mean it's intelligent and that it's making smart decisions with what it's going to tell you to do? Not necessarily, but I would see it more as a crowdsourced opinion. Overall, I'd say ChatGPT is going to be extremely helpful for getting you to think about your stock picks in a broader context and understand where you might have some blind spots in your thinking. Let's start talking to ChatGPT. This is not financial advice. I'm just sharing this video for informational purposes only. I've put together a small portfolio of stocks. There is pretty heavy weighting on some big technology companies, and we've got some more diversified ETF things going on, as well as gold. Let's look at the prompt that we're going to ask ChatGPT. I'm telling it it's a financial advisor, and its goal is to evaluate equity portfolios. We're going to instruct it to use a step-by-step method to do that. I've described some other instructions for it, so it hopefully behaves nicely for us. Every time we run this, it's going to do something slightly different. And you'll see that when you try this yourself. So let's go ahead and give it the prompt and see how it responds. So it's asking me to provide a list of my stocks and their percent allocations. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my stocks here and let's feed those in. I'm listing these as the stock ticker symbol and then a colon and then the percent allocation. The first step is to interpret the portfolio. I want ChatGPT to understand what we've told it. And it's doing that pretty well. It has a total allocation of 60%, which is not actually true because if you add these percentages up, we're going to find it comes out to 65, so it's screwed that up. But what's interesting is that I've been told it to assume anything missing is cash, and it's doing that really well. So it's essentially normalized our portfolio for us. So in step 2, it's looking at the portfolio's potential for strong returns. In this case, they're saying they've understood we're mixing individual stocks and more market assets like ETFs. So they think that's good for diversification. But they have identified that there's a lot of allocation, an outweighted amount in technology stocks, which you would consider growth stocks. So they're saying basically it's only going to perform as good as tech does in the next 20 years. Now I've asked it to rate our portfolio on various metrics. The first is growth. It's only given that a 6 out of 10, which to me is pretty shocking because we have a pretty high amount of money in tech. Although I suppose given that we're actually 40% cash, you would also consider it a bit of a conservative portfolio from that perspective. It's saying it's pretty well diversified. I also don't really agree with that take. I think it should be more diversified. And it's saying it's fairly unsafe, which I really like that take. I think that's completely on point. So now I've asked it for the optimal percent allocation within those stocks, given different objectives. If we're going for growth, you can see that it's overweighting Nvidia, Tesla, and Apple, and it's trying to push less money into the other sectors. If we're going for diversification, as you can see, we're much more evenly weighted across all our stocks. And if we're looking for safety, it wants to get out of the big tech stocks and put us into more broad market funds. IVV is an ETF that tracks the US stock market. XOM is a gas company, ExxonMobil. Gold is a safe haven asset, so it makes sense. It would like us to invest there. And then it's saying just 55% others. So for the last step, I asked it to backtest our portfolio. And I told it to use Yahoo Finance data. So in this case, it's not actually telling me how I can do that with Python. But I think I can get it to do that for us. And I'm going to say re-evaluate step 5. So as it finishes writing there, I'm going to go ahead and boot up a terminal environment. And we're going to need the YouTube Finance API here, which it looks like it's Y Finance. And it's told us, in fact, we have to go ahead and install that. So I can install that with pip. I'm just going to do it globally because I don't really care what goes on in my global Python environment. I'll use virtual environments for specific projects, but ad hoc stuff, I just use my global environment. There's no problem. Now I can go ahead and copy this code and let's create a new script. I'm going to go into my downloads and I'm just going to call this yt backtest.py and I will paste that in. So if I was to open that up, we can see that I've got that code that ChatGPT gave me and I've just put it into a file. Now I haven't changed this at all and it's going to print me some values and let's see what happens. So if I run it, I have no idea how well it's going to do. I haven't read the code at all. All right, so it's giving us issues. It basically didn't write correct code. I could go ahead and debug it. Let me do that right now, and when I'm done, we'll run this. Okay, I think I've fixed it. Cool. So if I had invested in my portfolio, my return over the last 10 years would have been 200 times what I put in. Apparently. In order to fix the script up, I had to remove a few tickers that were wrong. And most importantly, I had to add these 2 lines. It wasn't interpreting this as a pandas data frame. It was thinking it was a list. So definitely not great work from ChatGPT in this back test, but still pretty impressive for the technology, I think, at this point in time. As you can see, the market return would have been 2.6, which seems incredibly low compared to this hand-picked basket of stocks, which is apparently returning 200 times. However, what we need to consider here is that the market is always available to us, and to think that you could double your money in 10 years just by putting it in the easiest investment vehicle, that's pretty powerful, especially when you think about what happens now in another 10 years where your money doubles again and it actually becomes 4 times what you put in. And then another 10 years where your money doubles yet again and then it becomes 8 times what you put in. That's pretty powerful to think about. So I hope you've enjoyed this video on how we can use ChatGPT to help us think about our stocks and inform our stock picking strategy. I'll definitely share more about how we can do this type of thing in future videos, and we're going to dig a little bit more into the logic of the prompt as well in those videos. So if you're interested in that, you can go ahead and click on the thumbnail. Otherwise, thanks for spending some time with me today. I'm Alex, and I'll see you in the next one to see how well your picks actually would have performed going back 10 years. I'll just do that last part.